Welcome in, everybody. Red, White, and Bills, along with Go Bills Report, Go Bills Podcast. I'm sorry, I'm still getting used to the name change. I also put it wrong into the description. I put Buffalo Bills Report still. So sorry, Brett. Go Bills Podcast. And it's been a while, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. I know you guys know my situation. I'm going to Dallas on Thursday. So I had to basically do 2 weeks of homework in 1 week. So after the post-game video, I had to do all this homework, and we're going to put this one out before I leave, and we're going to keep going in the offseason with Brett, Tony. Tony also couldn't make it last minute. Something popped up with work. So we're going to talk about his talking points as well as ours. So, Brett, introduce yourself again for probably the fifth time, just in case people haven't seen this yet.
Hey, guys. My name is Brett. I am the founder of the Go Bills Podcast. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Go Bills Podcast. And we've been doing a lot of work since probably November, and it's been fantastic. Sean has been a big help to me. I appreciate all the help that he's done for my channel, as well as allowing me to be on his. So this is a great thing, and I can't wait to see our channels grow together.
Absolutely, and anytime, man. I just enjoy you and our content together, and I would help you anytime I got a chance to. So today, we're going to be basically talking about who's up for free agency for us. We each picked, Tony as well, 2 to 3 or maybe even 4 people we would like to re-sign, or 2 to 3, 4 people we could let walk and be okay with also picking a few people on the street who we could see bringing in, or a long shot. I know none of us picked him, but I'll say a Devontae Adams, the long shot of maybe bringing him to Buffalo, things like that. And then we can talk about the unfortunate situation, what happened last week with us. And then we can even talk about what we think about the Super Bowl. But let's jump right into it. We'll start with Brett. Who was your free agent? Start with your first free agent that you would like to re-sign on the Buffalo Bills, who's currently on the Buffalo Bills.
My first free agent that I'd like to re-sign is Harrison Phillips, because I really like the way that he came on towards the end of the season. I think that getting him back healthy after the ACL tear was a big thing for us, and I really liked that he was playing more of the run game. He was the only person that I saw that was making an impact not only in the passing game but the run game. Number 2 for me would be getting back Isaiah McKenzie. I think does a lot for the offense. He's a very versatile wide receiver, and he really helps in the kicking game as well. So I wouldn't want anything to happen with our special teams. And then the other 2 that I was really looking forward to getting back is Taiwan Jones. I really like the way that he makes an impact in the special teams game. He doesn't really do a lot on the running back position, so I know there's a lot of depth behind him, or in front of him. I'm sorry. So you never know, if he's going to get an impact on there. I think he had 1 carry this year, which was a little surprising. But and then Tyron Neal. I just like the way that he comes into the game, and he's more of the big nickel for us. I really love, what he's done, especially in the special teams area as well. I don't want to take a step back in special teams. I thought that we had a really good year. We eliminated some of the penalties that we had the previous year. Yeah. So I think that if we can keep the special teams intact, I think that would be a good idea.
Absolutely. Before I comment on your people, Richard said 99, 19, and 71 are must re-signs. And we all 3 of us, I know Tony's not here, but all 3 of us agree with you, Richard, and we'll definitely continue talking about them. And like you said, we'll start with Harrison Phillips. Actually, no, I don't like Tyron Neal. So but he does bring an element to the special teams, which is great because it's an element of football, special teams. It's part of the 3, and you need a good special teams. I don't really like him on the defense. I just don't think he always sticks out to me, and I just I don't want him on the field. But special teams, I agree. I think he's a huge part in that for us. And then Harrison Phillips, he really, came on this year. in a big year too. It's a contract year, and he started a little slow, but then he was having record games or career games after career game, and he got a sack this year, which was awesome to see from him because he's not the fastest. So usually by the time he gets to a quarterback, he's already throwing the ball or he jukes him out. But it was nice to see him get a sack this year. Like you said, huge force in the run game. He had plenty of stops, and he's definitely a guy I want to re-sign. He's got the heart, he's got the attitude that you want on your team, and he's growing into that one tech role. And I think he could be maybe not he could start or even be in that rotation because we still got to see what the draft has and possibly free agency. One of my guys we'll talk about who I think could be a pickup for us. But yeah, I mean McKenzie, we've seen not so much this year. They didn't really use him in the offense, which we both talked about many times was a mistake. This year he only had 20 catches, 178 yards, and a touchdown. 12 of those were against New England, where he had that massive, huge game, and then 9 rushes for 47 yards and a touchdown. And he also had some good returns on kick return. However, the year before that, he had tied for the team leading touchdowns with 7 or 8. So he's shown that he could be a force on this team. He could be that gadget guy. He could be anything we really need him to be. And he could be that number one target when we needed him to be. He was the number one target in New England, and he was massive for us in that game. And, I'd love to see him stay. And, I mean, I'll be really sad if he walks. But Taiwan Jones, another guy who's huge and vital in the special teams game, and we can't ignore it. You can't sleep on special teams. You can't just have a bunch of rookies and a bunch of people who've never had experience just go play special teams. Like for the last couple of years, like this year not so much as last year, but you can see I like the special teams more last year. I thought they performed a little bit better. But like you said, they brought the penalties down, which was a huge thing on special teams. But as far as like coverage and play, tackling, I thought they were better last year. But that's a huge element, and I think Taiwan Jones is a huge leader in that. So I like to keep Taiwan Jones. And let me just grab my phone and I'll read before I read mine. I'll read Tony's, and we can talk on Tony's. I didn't get a chance to write it down, so I'm sorry, everybody. Bear with me for a second. Okay. Tony's re-signs. We'll start with number 1 was Jake Kumaro. I would like to hear, if you can, Tony, when you watch this, if you can write it in the comments, your reasoning. But Brett, how do you feel about re-signing Jake Kumaro?
I would love to. I don't know if he's a free agent though. I'm not positive he is. I think he's under contract for next year. But I believe he is. But I think he signed a futures contract, so I don't know if that's a 2-year contract with Buffalo.
Oh, right.
So I believe that he has another year left on his contract. But if not, I would love to have Jake back. I would really like what he was doing in the run game and blocking. When I was at the Miami Dolphins game in Buffalo, I really loved seeing what he was doing in the blocking. And I really think that he's an added element. He's one of the taller receivers on the roster as well. Other than Isaiah Hodges, who's been stuck on the practice squad for the past 2 years. But I really liked what he was doing. And, Josh Allen put a good perspective on him and said that he was his favorite receiver because his only pass to him was a touchdown. So he was at 100% average on touchdowns. So I hope that he sticks around, and I think that he will in this offense. I think he'll be around next year. I'm almost positive he's signed a 2-year contract, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he did, then he's already right with one of his re-signs. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I had to agree with you on Jake Kumaro. Obviously, we didn't pick him up to be a top 3 receiver on the team, but he could definitely go into a game, make a couple plays, make a couple blocks, and he does his job on special teams as well. And like you said, he has that the one for one touchdown for Josh Allen. But yeah, that's an interesting one. And then I'll talk for this one first. F.A. Obata. Obata had 4 sacks for us, and he was graded by PFF 70.5 for pass rush, which is basically league at where you want to be, basically. And he showed huge spurts of greatness, and obviously he's not like one of the elite pass rushers in the league, but he's shown with the snaps he got, he could do something with them. And it'd be nice to see him come back at least for, in my opinion, to challenge somebody. Sorry, I got something in my eye. But he might not be signed, but at least bring him into the training camp and see if, because we still got a lot of depth and talent at defensive line. So see if he can challenge and win a spot, or, but I like him though. I do like him though. It'd be nice to keep him. What do you think about F.A. Obata?
I really liked F.A. Obata, especially when he came to Buffalo. I know he's coming off of a career year in Carolina. I think he had about 4 or 5 sacks there. So I really liked what he was doing in Carolina, and he came in on a really cheap contract as a 1 year, I think around $1.5 million. So I was really happy with that. And of the 3 defensive ends, Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison, and F.A. Obata, that are going to be free agents this year, I think that's the one that we can re-sign, because I don't think that his contract is going to be as huge as Mario Addison, who led the team in sacks this year, and Jerry Hughes, who's been a focal point for the Bills for almost a decade now. So I think that F.A., if we could re-sign him for a cheap contract this offseason, I would really like to bring him back, because I think he can be a veteran for this group of young guys that we have on the defensive end position. But I think he played the numbers game, and I think that the rotation was so much that he just couldn't get his feet going.
Yeah, absolutely. But I definitely agree with you there. I love what you said. And then his next one, which is a guy I love, was Levi Wallace, who really stepped up into the cornerback 1 role when Trey White went down. What do you think about? I'll talk about him after, of course. I'll let you go first on this one. How do you feel about re-signing Levi Wallace?
I like re-signing Levi if the numbers are right, but I just believe that his contract is going to be too much for Buffalo to keep. That's why he wasn't one of my free agent re-signs this year. I think that he's going to command probably around $6 to $7 million in the offseason. Probably sign maybe a 4-year, 5-year contract. I think it's just going to be tough. I think it's going to be a numbers game. But I liked what he did in the number 1 role going into the playoffs. I just saw that he was out of position a couple times in the playoffs, especially in the Chiefs game. That prevent defense that we saw. I'm not going to really blame anybody on that, but I just could tell that he was out of position in that certain situation. So I think that this could be a time for Buffalo to get a veteran cornerback instead of Levi, and maybe go different ways. But I would love to re-sign him and then maybe draft a guy in the first round, like a McDuffie or something like that, or maybe somebody else. I would love to do that, but I just think the numbers game is going to hurt him this offseason for Buffalo.
I can see that happening too. I really like Levi Wallace. I've been a huge advocate for him for the last couple of seasons. And, I think I think I agree with you. He'll probably demand $6, $7, $8 million, but I think maybe if Buffalo wants him, he might take a couple mil off of that, because he came back this year. He could have got another contract. Like, people wanted him, but he's like, I want to stay here for a year. I know what we're capable of. I'll take a 1 year, $1 million deal because I want to stay here. We didn't want to give him the longer contract, but he chose to stay here anyway. He could have walked. He could have tested free agency. McKenzie could have, that's what Bojorquez did. He's like, well, I'll see what free agency has for me. Nobody wanted him, so then Green Bay picked him. Well, the Rams picked him up first for training camp, caught him because of Hecker, and then the Packers picked him up. So, I think Levi could be a starter on any team. He's obviously not a top 5 corner in the league, but he's definitely shown he can play in big spots. And like you said, if the money's right, numbers are right, I'd love to bring him back. And, even if they bring him back on a cheaper deal, you still draft a young corner. Then, because like we talked about the Trey White injury, we don't know how long it's going to take for him to get back to full health. So he might not be able to play all the games or full games, or you know what I mean? You might just set out some plays so you could put that rookie, but if you draft from the rookie in the first round, you're hoping that he can start, so they might have to and go off of that. And his next one was Jerry Hughes, and I'll go first with Jerry Hughes. I really like Jerry, and for me, it comes down to keeping either Addison or Hughes. Obviously, Addison's sack numbers are in favor of keeping him. Jerry always has a good pass rush win rate, and he's always there, but he can't keep contained. And a lot of people in Buffalo are like, "Oh, Jerry Hughes is old. Let's just get rid of him." And that's the hard part about free agency is like you want to keep all these guys because you love these guys. They're your team, but some people have to leave, have to go, and one of those two have to leave because of the money thing. Because I think their cap hit is double digit, right?
Yeah.
Last time I checked. So, I mean, one of them has to go, but he's saying Hughes is a re-sign. I'd like to see, it's hard for me. I like to see one of them back, but Hughes has done a lot for Buffalo. I think he's fourth in the Buffalo Bills all-time sack leader. So he's done a lot for us. But how do you feel about re-signing Jerry Hughes?
I would like to re-sign Jerry Hughes. I think that he's going to command a short-term deal, maybe around like a 2-year, $12 million contract, something like that. I don't think it's going to be too much, but it might be more of an incentive-based contract.
Oh,
You can see. I think it could be, numbers could go down a little bit. It could be 2-year, $8 million with up to $12 million in place. But his numbers have been down this year. He only had 4 sacks this year. So I know that's something that's not as good. But of the two, I would really like to keep Mario Addison. I just think that he brings the veteran presence and he really pumps up the guys in the locker room. I haven't really seen Jerry be a true leader in the locker room. I just think that that's something that, it hurts him a little bit. But I would like to re-sign him. I think that of the two, I think he's the more likely to be re-signed by Buffalo just because his contract would be a little bit less. And you got to remember that our cap space is not that high this year. We only have about $9 million. So it's going to be tough to keep these guys. I know that Brandon Beane said that he was going to try and maneuver the cap, and maybe we can it's going to be hard because we're going to have to possibly get rid of some guys or maybe even restructure their contracts. So you never know. It could be more free agents. I think we have 16 this year right now. So it could go up from there. I mean, it could be a lot more.
Yeah. But yeah, I like that. I mean, we know Bean is he knows how to manipulate the cap and create more space, and but we got to free it up, and it's part of the business. That's why he's a GM. He loves the guys, but he makes the hard choices, like we talked about between Jordan Phillips and Shaq Lawson. He made the decision that both of them aren't able to be re-signed. It worked out for us because they both haven't produced since they left. So I mean, you got to make those moves like that. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not. Jerry Hughes could leave. He can get 12 sacks in another team. You never know. But you got to make those choices as a general manager. And obviously the head coach and defensive coordinator, everybody has says in it, but it's a huge part of it all. And his last free agent re-signing. So what we're going to do is, like you did your free agent re-signs, we'll do his, we'll do mine. Then we'll go to not signs, and then we'll go back to possible free agent prospects out there. His last one was Tyrod Dodson. And I like that because we haven't really seen all we could see from Tyrod Dodson yet. We saw glimpses of him, and I've liked what I saw. He's a hard hitter, and he's got that attitude that you could trust that if he goes in there, he'll make a few plays and he'll put his 100% out there, and he kind of feeds off of the rest of the defense and Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano. How do you feel about Tyrod Dodson?
I liked what I saw out of Tyrell this year. I thought that he filled in the role that he had to play this season. I wish we would have had a little more glimpses of him because I think that he would be a really good asset to the Bills. He would be one of my re-signs. I don't think he's going to cost that much money to get back to Buffalo. No. But I think it's going to be more of a numbers game. I think we're going to try and go into a different way because I think we're going to try and get another linebacker that's a little quicker. Maybe get some more speed, especially in the linebacker and the corner position. So I would love to re-sign him. I think he's a really good player for Buffalo, but I don't see it happening in my personal opinion. But I would like to keep him back. I think he's would be a good depth player for the Bills.
Absolutely. I love that. And now we're going to go to mine. So I just wrote down a couple that I already knew you guys chose, but I just had them just because I agreed. I put Levi Wallace, of course. He had 2 interceptions, 50 solo tackles, 82.2 passer rating allowed, which isn't too bad. I've seen plenty worse. And with the zone defense, you give up a lot of cover. It's a bend but don't break mentality. Harrison Phillips, of course, and then here's my 3 guys. I know you don't agree with one of them, or one of you don't agree with one of them. I got to recheck what we wrote down, but I like to bring Ike Butker back. I know he's coming off of that devastating injury, but he really showed in that little few games he had to play, step up. He only allowed 1 sack, only 1 quarterback hit allowed, and he had a 78.2 pass blocking according to PFF, which is pretty good. So whether he's going to be a starter or not, he's just a guy that we've seen him. We've seen his highs, we've seen his lows, and he had a lot of highs this year before he got hurt. And I mean, his replacement obviously was just as good, if not better. I think he was a missing piece, but to have Ike as like a backup at least would be solid, because one guy goes down on the O-line, you could be really hurting. And the next guy, Mitch Trubisky, only because I know people are gonna want him, of course, but to have a guy like Mitch as your backup, someone who can run, he can throw, he's had experience in the playoffs. He's in a better offense than he was in Chicago. I was always comfortable with, if Mitch has to go in, I'm fine. Obviously, he's not Josh Allen, but like if he had to play for 2 games, 3 games, I could see him winning the game. You know what I mean? Or winning the few games. So I like to re-sign Mitch. Don't think it'll happen because he'll probably be scooped up by another team that needs a quarterback. And then my last one's Emanuel Sanders. And I picked Emanuel Sanders because we don't even know if he might retire. We don't know his status yet. I know he said if he wins the Super Bowl, he's going to retire. So I mean, technically, you got to understand, maybe he still wants to retire anyway. You know what I mean? Because he already has a Super Bowl, so he might just want to retire anyway. But he had a few injuries this year. He was 42 catches, 626 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, 105 passer rating when targeted, and I just think he brings that juice. He brings that. We saw that video in practice where he was hyping everybody up, getting them ready to go. And he's got that tenacity, and he's got good hands. He's quick. Granted, keep him, but don't give him all the snap count. We could get another gadget guy. We can get another slot receiver. We still got to wonder if Cole Beasley's coming back, but he's also getting up there in age too, with injuries, with ribs and everything. So who knows his shelf life, in the NFL still. But I think he's a good presence to bring back if he wants to. Again, he might not even want to play anymore. Not because of the Bills or anything. He might just be done with football. But I like Emanuel Sanders. And then, of course, I know we all feel good about Ryan Bates. I like to bring Ryan Bates back also. I know none of us picked him, but I know we all want him. And he's just he really showed, because we were all questioning. He plays all 5 positions. We're not really using him. We're saving him like the Ty Nsekhe swing tackle role. But then he stepped up at left guard when Ike Butker got hurt. And we're like, wow, it took 15 weeks, but this O-line is starting to gel now. And they did. They did good the rest of the season. They did 4 games without a sack up until that playoff game. So, I mean, they were outstanding near the end. So it'd be nice to sign Ryan Bates back. How do you feel about Mitch, Sanders, Bates, and Butker?
So let me start with Ike Butker. I really like Ike Butker. I think that he did a really good job stepping up at the left guard position when Feliciano got hurt. I think that he was having a really good year, but unfortunately the injury happened and his season was cut short. But I really liked the way that that Ryan Bates stepped up after that, because we weren't sure who was going to be there. Was it going to be Cody Ford? Was it going to be Ryan Bates? And they kind of split time in between on each drive. So I really liked the way that Bates stepped up as well. And I think that the combination of Dawkins, Bates, Mitch Morse. It was Darrell Williams, and then Spencer Brown. I really like that combination going forward. But we have to remember, we don't know who's going to be our offensive line coach because Bobby Johnson left for the New York Giants. So it's really going to come up to whoever's the next offensive line coach for Buffalo. But would I like to re-sign both of them? I would. I think it's just going to be, again, another numbers game.
Yeah.
But I got to ask you, of the two, who would you like to keep if it came down to one or the other?
Well, I'm gonna have to say Bates just because he not that Ike didn't do well, but he's coming off of Achilles. He's gonna have a slow start. I mean, he's gonna I'm sure he's gonna kill rehab. He's doing awesome. And I really like Ike, and like I'd love to keep them both, but it just seems like Bates is the right answer in a tough choice like that. However, I love you, Ike. I know you're not watching, but I know you answered me on Instagram before. But I would love to keep you. I'd love to keep both of them. But I think for that situation, I have to go with Ryan Bates.
And I'm in agreement in the same way. I would keep Bates over Bucker. I think that Bucker is the most likely to re-sign with Buffalo because of the injury. I think that he's going to be hungry and want to come back for another couple of years. Maybe get a 2-year contract. One of the first year being a little less money, just because of the injury. Kind of how the MLB does it, where you have Tommy John surgery or something like that. You get a little money up front, and towards the end you get more money at the end. So I think that it could be a small contract at the beginning and then a bigger one at the end. But going back to your other ones, Sanders, I think it's time to move in a different direction. I liked what he did. I think he did a really good job coming into Buffalo. He brought the leadership that we needed at the wide receiver position, especially as a number 2. You're never going to be the same as Diggs just because Diggs is one of the best in the game. I would love to sit here and say, let's get Devontae Adams or let's get this guy or that guy, Tyreek Hill. It doesn't matter who it is. I would love to get them on Buffalo, and then, we'd be unstoppable. But we got to remember, let's play the GM cap. You're not going to be able to afford a Stephon Diggs and a Devontae Adams, especially with Josh Allen gets in the contract that he just got. If he was on a rookie deal, I would love it. It would be perfect for Buffalo. But, this isn't the case. We're now going into year 5 of Josh Allen. So you're never going to be able to do that. But I love what Sanders did. I like the way that he was going. I know the injuries kind of sucked. I think it really affected him in the middle of the year, but he really clicked on towards the end of the year. And I think that he's going to move into the sunset and retire with Brady and Ben Roethlisberger. And I think his years in the NFL are done, but maybe potentially bringing him back as like a assistant to the Bills, maybe a, passing game coordinator or something like that. I know he doesn't have the experience right now, but maybe even just some type of assistant for the Bills. I think it would be a good idea to do. And
that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Then with Mitch Trubisky, I would love to have Mitch back. I think that getting a guy like Mitch to come back to Buffalo, you talked about it, getting him back just because, let's be honest, Josh Allen is a little reckless. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to use reckless as the word. He's a little he makes you hold your breath every time he runs the ball because you never know if that linebacker is going to come in or that safety is going to come in and blow his head off. It worries me. I would love to see him go more out of bounds or slide and stuff like that. I think he did a really good job of it this year, but it always worries me that, we could be one play away from having our backup come in and having a backup with the resume like Mitch had, where he's been in the playoffs and he's been, the quarterback for a team and he's a first round pick. It's great to have. So I would love to have Mitch back, but I think there's going to be so many other teams that need starting quarterbacks, or he could compete with for a job to be the starting quarterback in certain places. I think it's just going to be hard to keep him back. But I think Mitch loved it in Buffalo, and I think he's going to want to come back. So maybe if his market isn't as good as he thinks it's going to be, maybe he re-signs with Buffalo and comes back, and we try and get a deep run in the playoffs again. So maybe we can make another Super Bowl run with Mitch as their backup again, just like Kelly and Frank Wright.
Yeah, I think for Mitch, it'll come down to where in your career do you want to be? Do you want to sign like a 3-year backup deal, or do you want to do another 1-year deal and wait, or do you want to just be a starting quarterback? I mean, obviously he wants to be a starting quarterback, but like, do you feel fine with taking that 3-year, 2-year backup quarterback deal to be on the Buffalo Bills? But I mean, we haven't really heard anything. Usually there'd be talks about, people wanting Mitch. I know somebody wanted him at the trade deadline, but I mean, there's Aaron Rodgers is on the market. So a lot of people are going to try for Aaron Rodgers, and, there's a couple other quarterbacks that are out. I mean,
Russell Wilson potentially. You never know.
Yeah, I mean,
Brady retired, so there's a market in Tampa Bay now. You never know.
Yeah,
I don't think they're gonna roll with Blaine Gabbert. I don't believe they will. Otherwise,
no.
it'd be funny to see. Maybe they can win a Super Bowl with Blaine Gabbert. I would love to see it because I like Blaine Gabbert, but
well, I like to see the Bills win it finally, but no, I mean, Blaine Gabbert had his AFC Championship game with the Jags, right? Was it him? I think. Yeah, it was him. I think it was.
No, wasn't it Blake
Bortles?
Bortles?
No, it was Bortles. Yeah, Bortles.
UCF zone.
Yep. Yeah, it was someone like that. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna come down to what Mitch wants, because I'm sure if Mitch said I want to stay in Buffalo, they'll be like, okay, here you go, here's some money. You'll be like, oh, nice, thanks. But I mean, there's a lot of teams that want quarterbacks, and if they want Mitch, I wouldn't blame him for going. It wouldn't be because he doesn't want to be in Buffalo. It's just because he knows he can start. I'm surprised nobody wanted him before we got him. I was surprised about that. But there was that deception of, he was the reason why Chicago failed, when we all knew it was Matt Nagy and his terrible offense and his terrible coaching. And now they knew after they got rid of Mitch, it's Matt Nagy. And I'd love to see him stay. But I mean, it's got to hope, because I hate to roll in with like a rookie or like someone who's never played a lot of games, like get like a Mike Glennon like the Giants had. Like, I don't want somebody like that.
No,
because then you're guaranteed basically L's if your starter's out. Like, exactly. if we kept Jake Fromm instead of Mitch, like, then you're like, damn, I hope Allen never misses a snap.
Yeah, but we never knew what Mitch was going to do, or I'm sorry, what Jake Fromm was going to do. He was sitting on the bench, missing practices because of COVID. So, I mean, can you imagine if something happened to, Matt Barkley and Josh Allen in that season, if we lost both of them and we had to roll with Jake Fromm?
Yeah, and now the other thing now I'm thinking is, since the Giants took him, it was basically a waste of a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
Because you could have got a guard or a gadget guy or a tight end or anybody. You wasted it on a quarterback that you knew you were never going to use, and then now he's gone for nothing. They scooped him up, and you got nothing out of it.
We never knew when we picked Jake Fromm the severity of COVID, so you have to also take that into perspective. It could have, he could have been on the roster. He could have been the backup. You never know. We didn't know that the preseason was going to be canceled. And
but at the same time, it's like you could have picked another guy out there, another free agent quarterback. Colt McCoy, or like anybody. Like, you could have took, besides wasting a draft pick. I don't know. Yeah. That's just not that he's not going to be. He might be good one day, but it's just, I just was really bad. I was like, really, like a 5th-round pick on the quarterback. Like,
I liked it just because of, you didn't know what Josh was going to do that year. So, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, I would never want this to happen. So I'm just going to play the other side of it, just because we didn't know that Josh was going to have that MVP season. So what if Josh flopped, and we didn't have another guy in the building, and Jake would have been good. I mean, you never know. I didn't think that was going to ever happen, but it would have been good to have another rookie learning behind Josh Allen, and then maybe comes in if Josh was struggling. But I mean, we knew that Matt was going to be a guy that came in for maybe 2-3 games, held down the fort, and then we had another bridge quarterback. So I liked that, but you're right. It wasn't the best decision, but I was okay with the pick, not happy with the pick.
Right. I understand that. Duncan says, go Bills. Definitely want to see your videos. He started his channel, but he hasn't posted a video yet. So Duncan, you better get on that. We're waiting. And then Richard says, not picking a nitpicking a 5th-round pick. It was an insurance gamble. No, absolutely. But my only thing is thinking about that is I get what Brett was saying, playing the devil's advocate. Like, you don't know what Josh was going to do, but we seen that he could be that player, and you had that hope and the trust in Josh that he could ascend because he was ascending every year. So like to think like, oh, Fromm was gonna be that guy, it just, I don't know. To me, it just I like Brett said, I get the pick. I just didn't like it 100%. Especially now, when, obviously hindsight 2020, we got nothing out of it. The 5th-round pick was basically, we gave it away. He was never used. He was never on the active roster. He was just nothing. He was the insurance QB 100% because, the COVID protocols, and it worked. We always had him safe in case, God forbid, Josh or anyone got COVID. Duncan said, Fromm is a scrub and a waste of a pick. Yeah. Should have signed Matt Castle. I mean, yeah, really. I mean, but I hope for Fromm. I was happy when he got signed to the Giants. I was like, he'll get some games, but they were starting Glennon ahead of him. I was like, what's the point? Glennon's a career backup who's won like 2 games in his life and like 15 years of playing football. I would have put Fromm out there, but the Giants were, a struggling organization with, bad judgment. But yeah, I understand that. It's just when you're looking at it now, you're just like, dang, a 5th-round pick could have got you so much. Because I mean, Wild Goose got picked up, 7th-round pick. We had a 6th-round pick get taken away from us. Like we draft really, like I always mention this, we draft well late, and they all get picked up off of practice squads. So it's just like it feels like a waste after they get picked up because you never got to see them, you never got to use them. So that kind of stinks. Oh, and Anderson, the guard.
I was gonna say Anderson was picked up. We never saw what he did. I don't even know if he did anything this year.
Yeah, I mean, he was on Philly's active roster. I don't know if he ever made the field though.
Yeah,
but they were having offensive line issues, injuries, and they picked him up. And it's like that's 4 picks, late picks in the last 2 years that got taken from us. And we never got to even see him play one snap.
I know that was hard to see because I liked what he was going to do. I think he was going to be the, maybe even if like we saw, all the guards that went down and everything, he was going to be stored on their practice squad. And maybe he came in and,
yeah,
I heard he looked like a tank. He was like what, 6, I think he's 6'8" or something like that. He's one of the taller, guys. And I think they said after the draft that Spencer Brown, Tommy Doyle, and Jack Anderson were all on flights together, and they had to like adjust the seats just because they're so tall.
Yeah, they're massive. They're massive.
Yeah, they're massive guys. So I mean, it would have been nice to see him come in and maybe he played that left guard position, and you never would have heard of Ryan Bates having the career year that he was having.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, that's the name of the game. You can't always keep all your picks, and it just goes to show, even though picking is very hard, like we always say, hitting on one pick out of the draft is a win. So when you got 2 years, 4 people getting picked up late round off your practice squad, you're doing something right. But I'll go first with my let walk group. I know we agree on some of them. I picked Hughes, and for mine, just because of the sack numbers, it's a tough decision. I'm glad I don't have to make the decisions. But also Matt Breida, just because I like what Matt Breida brought to the table, but I'm hoping that somehow we can work something out with the Giants and get Saquon or just another free agent back out there. And then Butler, he was a huge contract, never lived up to it. And there's better people on our roster than that. So I could see Butler walking as well. How do you feel about those ones?
I'd be okay with Butler leaving. I mean, I think it was a waste of a contract. I like, when we got Quentin Jefferson and Vernon Butler at the same time, I thought that Quentin Jefferson was going to be the better one of the two. I thought that Vernon Butler was going to play more of like the star Latule role, be the backup to him, and maybe draw the double team, not be the household name that you see, but drawing the double teams and then allowing other guys to make plays. But I mean, the 2 years that he's been here, he hasn't really done anything. It's been so disappointing, and we paid him so much money to come in here.
Double digit mills.
Yeah, which is sad. I mean, it really was hard to see that for the past 2 years, and I'm like, why didn't you cut him after the first year? You cut Quentin Jefferson, who was okay. He was making some plays.
Yeah, and he had a really good season this year.
Yeah, and then he has a really good season with the Raiders, and it was hard to see. I'm like, why didn't you cut Vernon Butler? Because what has he done?
Yep, it's one of those like we talked about. You can't win them all. You make the choices. Sometimes you lose. In that situation, we lost because Jefferson played significant snaps and started for the Raiders, and he was always, all the commentators saying, "Oh, he's one of the highlights of this defensive line," and he was looking good. He was looking good. So that's a shame. But I mean, definitely cutting Butler is huge, and I was frustrated with Boogie always sitting when Boogie was making plays, and you want to develop your young guys. You draft them high. You got to get game reps. You can't rely on practice to make a person better because it's nothing beats 120% game snap. You know what I mean? Like you practice hard, but you got to get the real game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
But, and then Breida,
I really liked what I saw from him, but towards the end of the season, I was really questioning why they didn't use him more because they just healthy scratched him again like they did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
it was hard. I thought that Zach Moss took a little bit of a step back this year, hit the second year wall.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But, it happens. I thought that Matt came in, did a really good job, and I would like to re-sign him. I just think that, like you said, acquiring like a Saquon Barkley or, I've seen on Instagram and Twitter the jersey swaps with Christian McCaffrey. Maybe that's a move that we make.
Yeah,
that is going to happen. But I mean, can you imagine this offense with like a Saquon or a, CMC?
That'd be healthy either of them.
Healthy either one of them. I mean, it would take a lot of the pressure off of Stephon Diggs. I mean, you imagine that now you're gonna have to play 8 in the box, and Diggs is gonna go down the field and score. You can throw it deep and everything. And then if Diggs does go deep and the defenders are drawn, back, now you can run it with Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley, and it's now, Saquon versus a linebacker, and Saquon is probably going to win that battle most of the time, especially when he's healthy.
Yep, Motor and Barkley. I like that.
Yeah, but here's the question: does Singletary give up his jersey for Saquon, or does Saquon get a new jersey?
Yeah, Saquon would get a new. He would get a new jersey.
Yeah, I think he would have to.
Yeah, just because Singletary's had it for years on the team, so he would understand that. He'd be like, yeah, I'll pick a different number.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be a different number. I think
it'd be so cool. I know he's not a free agent, but you can trade, like how I said, they take our last couple late round picks have been taken anyway on practice squads. Trade like a 6 and a 5 of the next year or something, because his value is going to be down just because of constant injury, and the Giants are somewhat rebuilding. You're not going to want to rebuild around a back that's always hurt. So I could see them giving up a couple picks, maybe even a 4th and a 5th and a 6th future, and just to get more draft capital. And I'd be fine with that, just because I know how we have a hard time playing second round picks. They want to healthy scratch them. So I mean, I trade a 4th, a 5th, and a 6th for Saquon. I wouldn't even care, because I love Saquon. I think in our offense he'd really work, and we have a great training staff. Not that other NFL teams don't, but we're not really riddled with injury bugs ever. So I think he would stay healthier here. But who are your guys to let walk? and then we'll get into Tony's.
So let me go into it. I didn't have it pulled up. I accidentally had my volume on, so I apologize about that while you're talking.
You're good.
My guys to let walk, obviously, Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison. I mean, I'd love to re-sign them, but I think it's just, the money's going to be too much this year. And, you could go with a younger guy like a F.A. Obata, or maybe even, bring in somebody that's been more productive than them, like I won't go into who it is, but some of the free agents that are coming in here, because it's one of my free agent targets. I don't want to bring him up yet.
Yeah.
So you can go younger, or maybe go with another veteran presence like that. Vernon Butler was the other guy that I was going to say is just let him walk. I mean, don't even don't even let him turn around and say, "Hey, can I have another contract, please?" Because what have you done? I mean, what have you done? You just walk out the door, go. I don't want to see you.
Exactly.
You haven't done anything.
You're not wrong, man.
And then the hard one for me is probably going to be Mitch Trubisky. I mean, I'd let him walk just because of the money. It's hard to say. I mean, I know there's going to be so many veteran quarterbacks coming out here. I mean, if he wants a contract and he wants to sign for a cheap contract, go ahead and do it. But, don't chase him for the money. If the money's too good, let him go. He did his job in Buffalo. Let him go.
Yeah, I hear that. But we got to think, too, backup quarterback is like a huge spot on a team.
It is.
Especially when you're a team like us. So, I mean, finding a replacement for Mitch would be a little bit hard. So we'll see. I mean, that's a big question. I think that's one of the most interesting storylines of the offseason is Mitch going to stay, or who we're going to replace for Mitch. But, I mean, I know Tony has a couple options to replace Mitch, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But so Addison, Mitch, and Hughes and Butler for you. I think, if you cut Butler, Hughes, and Addison, all three of them, that's going to free up a lot of cap, I think, and we'll be able to make some of these future moves that we hope to make.
Yeah, well, these guys, you got to remember, don't count for the cap for next year. So, so we only have the $9 million, even with these guys leaving.
True.
We have to cut other players, or manipulate the cap, like we're saying. So
yeah, that's true.
16 guys and $9 million. I don't think we're going to be able to re-sign them for $500,000 each.
Yeah,
I would love to do it for all of them. I really would, but I think it'd be tough.
And Tony, same in agreement with us. Butler, Addison, he said Bobby Hart. I mean, I think that one's just probably going to happen, but I'm sure he'll find his way. He always did. We cut him, and he kept coming back. So I'm sure they'll find his way to the practice squad after we cut him, and after he doesn't clear waivers and nobody picks him up. And if they do pick him up, they'll cut him, and then we'll pick him up again. So that's just what I think is going to happen. But you want to do Tony's possible free agents first, or do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
Let's let Tony go first.
Okay. Tony said Ryan Jensen, which is interesting because he's one of the best centers, but we have another one of the best centers in the league also. So, I mean, I would like to have him on a team. I'm guessing he's thinking of putting him at guard, or, how long is Mitch going to stay playing football? I know he's young, but he did contemplate it a couple of years ago with, having concussions. I want to step away from football possibly, but he's definitely able to play for a few more years, Mitch Morris. So, I mean, that'd be interesting to see if Jensen will play guard. Patrick Peterson was his next one, and then Tyrod Taylor and Ryan Fitzpatrick. So those were his two quarterbacks he could see replacing Mitch Trubisky. And let you take the floor. How do you feel about those ones?
Ryan Jensen's the one that really surprises me. I think this, being able to manipulate the salary cap might take a little bit of rebuilding on the offensive line. So maybe getting rid of Mitch Morris, or maybe going to him and saying, hey, listen, can you restructure your contract? I think it's going to take something like that. I think more than likely Mitch is going to restructure his contract.
Yeah, he will,
because of the injuries, and I think he loves being in Buffalo. But if Mitch decides to retire, or he's not willing to restructure, then maybe bringing in Ryan Jensen would be great. I know he's done a really good job in the run game for the Bucs this year, and I think he's a real focal point for that Bucs offensive line. But I think he's going to probably re-sign with the Bucs.
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. It'd be really cool, Like I said, Mitch has plenty of years left in him. It's just, I mean, he a couple of years ago he contemplated, so it's always in the back of our head because he's a 29, so he's got plenty of years left. He's one of the smartest. I think he's the smartest center, and he's not the best center, but he's definitely the smartest center, and he does a great job. But I mean, like I said, it'd be cool to have a Ryan Jensen on the team. And, I've seen him a few times this year because Tampa Bay had primetime games and we played against him. So, I mean, he's a guy. He's definitely a good guy to have.
Yeah, he would be a good guy to have. But I think his counterpart, Alex, I think it's Kappa, would be a good guy. Yeah, Alex Kappa. Yeah,
and Marpet is a guard too, I think. But
Marpet, yeah. I couldn't remember if it was Kappa or not, but he would be a good guy.
I don't know if they're free agents, though.
He is a free agent. He is.
Oh, they are? Oh.
Yeah. Kappa is. Ali Marpet is not.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs have a lot of choices to make because Godwin's a free agent, Marpet, Jensen. Like Brady's gone now, but they got a lot of money. I don't know what their cap's like, but they got a lot of money that needs to be spent with those guys. So we'll see. And what about Patrick Peterson?
Patrick Peterson's interesting. I think that he still has a couple of good years ahead of him, but I think he's on the decline. Didn't really do a lot in Minnesota, but I mean, look at the career that he had in Arizona.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe Minnesota wasn't a fit for him. I think he's more of a zone defensive type of player. So I think bringing him in would be a really good thing for Buffalo because you don't know what, like we said, what's going to happen with Trey White. Is he going to miss time going into the season? And having a veteran guy like Patrick Peterson to step up and be the number one when maybe you draft a guy like, McDuffie or some of the other guys that are available in the draft in round one to learn behind Patrick Peterson and Trey White, that would be incredible. So maybe you sign Peterson to a 2-year contract for not so much money because I don't think he's going to command as much money as now just because he's struggled. So bringing him in would be an incredible thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And, my buddy Baker has to come in and bust chops first round exit 2022. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. But yeah, I mean, Patrick Peterson, I agree. He's got a couple years left, but I think because he's on that slow decline, I think you can get a cheaper contract for him. And then, when you look at his career in Arizona, it's absolutely incredible. So when the Vikings signed him, I'm like, oh, they're making moves, but the Vikings just didn't pan out. Whether it was coaching, quarterback, whatever it was. But, yeah, and then with Tyrod and Fitzpatrick, I mean, I just think Fitzpatrick just now with our offense doesn't fit our offense. He's not that mobile and, he's just getting up there. I mean, it'd be nice to have him because we know he could play, but I don't know. I don't know. I just rather have Mitch. So, I mean, Tyrod's mobile. He had a couple of good games in Houston, but I mean, how do you feel about those two?
I'm going to start with Ryan Fitzpatrick, okay? And I got to say, bringing Ryan Fitzpatrick back to Buffalo for potentially his final year, how incredible would that be?
That'd be sweet. Got to admit.
Being a fan, that would be incredible because, I mean, you saw him in the playoff game with his shirt off, with the fans and everything going crazy. I mean, imagine the city of Buffalo having Josh Allen and Ryan Fitzpatrick as your backup. I mean, that would just be incredible. But, being your fan head and being, thinking about it in terms of would he fit our offense and everything, I don't think he would. Like you're saying, I would rather have Mitch because I think Mitch is more capable of winning us games as a backup than Ryan Fitzpatrick. And you got to remember, Ryan Fitzpatrick is coming off of a hip injury, which that really scares me because, you don't know if he's going to be the same player and you don't know if, how he's going to move. So, I mean, with the injuries that he's had lately, I think it's best to just move on. Maybe, go after Mitch or somebody that's a little younger, because I think Fitzpatrick is now like 38, 39, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think so.
Getting somebody that's younger would be nice. But then Tyrod Taylor, bringing Tyrod back to Buffalo, I think he's a very good leader in the locker room, and I think that he would be good for Buffalo in certain ways because he's played a little bit of receiver when he was with Baltimore. So maybe you bring him in as like a little bit of a gadget type of player, like when McNabb and Michael Vick and Kevin Kolb were all on the same team. You saw Michael Vick have a couple of plays where, he was being the wildcat option. Maybe you bring Tyrod Taylor in to be like, beside Josh Allen, and you do a couple run plays or something crazy.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, exactly. You never know.
I think it'd be a little bit more of a distraction just because, you got to think about, okay, Tyrod Taylor was here before Josh Allen, and now is Tyrod going to take his place again? I'm just saying that could happen. It could happen.
No way.
No, I mean, I'm just kidding.
I know.
But I
mean, either of those, like you said, I was kind of bummed. We were supposed to play both of them this year, and they both got hurt before we got to play them. We were going to give a nice ovation to Tyrod Taylor. Everybody was planning on. I was going to be at that game, so I was looking forward to welcoming back to Buffalo. Thanking him for the breaking the drought, being the quarterback that on the team that broke the drought. Couldn't see either of them. So that was unfortunate. But I mean, yeah, the story would be cool to bring either of them back. I agree with that.
Yeah, it would be incredible, especially for Ryan Fitzpatrick. I just think the way that he left Buffalo, I didn't really like it. He signed that really huge contract. I think it was 6 year, $96 million, something like that. And to bring him back and just for the fan base to embrace him the way that I know that they would, because Bills Mafia, we weren't upset with what Ryan Fitzpatrick did. I think he had some bright spots in Buffalo, but you got to remember the contract was so high. It was just time to get rid of him. So bringing him back for a year on a 1 year, $2 million contract, that would be cool to see. So
yeah, he's another guy that might not play. He might be done. So who knows? It's hard to tell. I guess we'll see with that too.
Yeah, but he would be a good fan to have in Buffalo. I know, he deserves the key to the city like T.O. did. So
yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. All right. I'm going to do mine, and then we're going to end up on yours with those, and then talk a little bit about the Super Bowl coming up.
All right. Sounds good.
I like Brandon Scherf from the football team, or team to be named this year. That's coming up. No, it's coming up in a few days.
I thought it was today.
No, the second, I think.
I thought it was today. I could have sworn. I thought it got leaked.
I don't know. We'll have to check that in a minute. But anyway, hopefully they picked a decent name. But
yeah, I know.
I don't see them letting him walk. But 0 sacks allowed last year, 1 QB hit, 19 total pressures, and he was owning the guys against us. But I'd like to see someone like him, a proven guard, veteran presence who could fill in at right guard. And then you got Brown, Scherf, Mitch, and then, Bates, unless you draft someone or sign another free agent. Richard said, good show, guys. Bedtime, though. Thanks, Richard, for tuning in. Appreciate your support. Get some rest. We all could use it. Definitely take advantage of that. But, I like Brandon Scherf. And then the next guy, I can't see this happening, but it'd be nice. Chris Godwin for the slot. He had 98 catches, 1,100 yards receiving, and 5 touchdowns before his ACL injury. He might, another ACL injury. He might not be as huge of a contract as we might think. He might want to go back to Tampa. But now that Brady's gone, he might be like, well, why not play for Josh Allen? I know Beasley's going to be around, but this is last year of Beasley's contract. So if you can get a guy like Godwin, also there's guys in the draft. We'll talk draft in another video in the future, this week or next week maybe. But if you could pick up Godwin on a cheaper deal, when you make some room in the cap, he might be that one splash signing that we make. You know what I mean? And I could see that happening. And then another guy who I saw on the list and I was like shocked and would love it is Akeem Hicks from the Bears.
Yeah.
He's just an absolute tank, and he's a true one tech, and he's just a guy that I could just see in a Bills uniform, just taking us to the next level.
Yeah, I like those guys. I really like Hicks. I didn't see that he was a free agent, so that's like me. Bringing him in would be incredible. I mean, like you said, he's been a focal point for the Bears for so many years. I mean, just bringing him into Buffalo, I think would be a really good idea. Now going to mine, I would really like to bring in Melvin Ingram, just because I think that this is the guy that we're looking for. He's been productive with the Chargers, and I think that he just wasn't a fit for the Steelers going into the season. But then he goes to the Chiefs, and he was having a really good year. So I think that bringing him in, being 33, it's not going to cost that much. Maybe $6-7 million a year. Bring him in for a 2-3 year contract like we did with Mario Addison, and I think he can be the leader that we need in the defensive end position, because I think it's bringing in another rookie I don't really like, just because we're going to be so young. So I think that bringing in Melvin Ingram would be a really good idea. And then for me, Dante Jackson, from the cornerback from the Carolina Panthers, bringing him in, I really like it. He's a very big receiver. I think he's 6'1", 6'2". Plays the really, really tough game, big hitter. And also, just ball hawk. I mean, just has the skills like Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer do. So I think that he would be a really good number 2 for us, especially with Trey White on the other side. And I think he would really step up as the number 1 while Trey's out. And then maybe you get a guy like we keep saying about in the draft, to come in and be the number 2 behind him, and maybe bring in another veteran off of, that's older. Like, I don't think it's going to be Patrick Peterson, but maybe a Steven Nelson as well.
Yeah.
So that's mine. And then my third one was guard from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Andrew Norwell. The former All-Pro. And I just think that we need to get somebody that's more of the, like Rex Ryan was saying, the more of the bully type in the middle of the field. Just because, we need somebody that's really good in the run. And Norwell was really good in the run game for the Jaguars. So I think that bringing him to Buffalo with his nastiness would be really good. And then maybe pair him with a guard in the draft as well.
Yeah, I love all those picks. And Norwell was someone I was kind of frustrated that we didn't try to get. People were like, oh, well, the Jags are a rebuilding team. They don't want to get rid of their guard. I'm like, you could have given him a 4th round pick and they would have took that, because he's not, they're not going to be good anytime soon. They weren't good last year. Why not try to get draft capital? And I would have liked, I mean, thinking about that, imagine Dawkins, Norwell, Mitch, Scherf, and Spencer Brown. That's just an awesome O-line there. I mean, I know the money they're going to be, I think, could be wrong. I can't remember. I just looked at it before the show. For Scherf's market value was like 16 million. So I mean, obviously it's probably going to be a very tall ask, but I mean, just to get one of those guys would be absolutely awesome. And we got the draft, of course, too. But I mean, there's a lot of great free agents out there, man. And I liked who we all picked, and I think that's an awesome. I did Tony's, right?
You did, yeah. But I mean, one thing I will say is, with Buffalo, being the team that they are and being a playoff contender, you never know if guys like Andrew Norwell or Brandon Sheriff or somebody like that, they might take a couple million off the books just to be able to play with Josh Allen. I mean, Josh has been making waves around the league, so maybe players like that, maybe this is a new destination where we become not New England, but Tampa Bay, and all these free agents want to come into Buffalo and sign these cheap deals and take money off the books, and maybe potentially, and I think that he's a free agent too. Rob Gronkowski, I think he is.
Yeah, he is.
Maybe even Rob Gronkowski, bringing him in and bringing him along for a hometown reunion.
Yeah, 1-year deal.
1-year deal. Being behind Dawson Knox. I mean, imagine the two-headed tandem that we'd have.
Yeah, 2 tight end sets with Gronk and one of probably the best tight end in the league in the game, and then Dawson Knox too, and he can learn from Gronk also. So yeah. I mean, so many awesome options out there. I mean, we got to see what they're going to do with the cap space. If they're going to take part of people's deals and give them as a signing bonus. That's what they did with Diggs last year. They gave him like a huge sign-on bonus, but it was really just to make the cap bigger. And people like that.
Yeah. So of the guys that this is a question I wanted to ask you before the show, and I wasn't sure if you were able to even look at the cap or anything, but of the guys that have really big cap hits this year, who do you think is one of the guys that we could potentially get rid of?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't checked the cap too much since all I know is like the $9 million thing, but I don't know. It's tough because it's just tough because you want to give hope to these guys. I mean, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's just tough to answer that question. How do you feel?
I mean, of the guys that have the high cap space, it's like Mitch Trubisky, or not Mitch Trubisky, Mitch Morse, Cole Beasley, players like that.
So that's the thing.
I think it's gonna. I mean, I would hate for this to happen, but I think it's gonna be Cole. I think it's just because of the numbers game. He'll leave, and I think that you saw during the season that he's a little versatile. We can find players that he's expendable. I meant to say. And I think that maybe bringing in Isaiah McKenzie over him, and then taking the money and using it elsewhere and rebuilding the offensive line again, getting a guard like Norwell, or maybe even taking that money and using it on Brandon Sheriff. That would be great to do, but you got to remember we're going to lose some pieces as well.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. You mentioned that, I'm just like, I'm just thinking of guys that have done so much for this team and that can do so much. But I mean, if it's between Mitch and Beasley, I love Beasley, but you can't lose Mitch. You know what I mean? And I love Beasley, but he knows it's a business, and if he doesn't stay, I'll always love him for his time in Buffalo. And it's just going to be tough. These are the tough decisions we don't have to make, thankfully. But Baker said the Bucs are below 500 for the next 10 years. That's possible. You never know.
Possible, yeah.
And then he said we should get rid of that bum Allen. I mean, it might be a good his cap hit. That free up a lot of space.
It would, but I mean, you're gonna have to give up like 6-7 first-round picks for me to be able to even answer the phone. I mean, it's got to be like 7 first-round picks in a row, and then
you got to give me your whole team.
Your whole team.
I might pick up the phone just to hear you and then say no.
Yeah, I'd take the whole entire Los Angeles Rams, and then maybe the 7 first-round picks in a row,
and they're 2025 under their 2030 full roster too.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, he's a funny guy.
He is.
I love Baker.
I'm surprised that while we're doing the show, we haven't had like a lieutenant or something like that on the show. I mean, this has been the quietest show so far, but I mean, it's been good that we didn't have the guys from American Dad come on the show.
Yeah, I miss him a little bit.
I do too. I mean, it's kind of sad, but
yeah. Baker wants to know Allen and Diggs for Russ. He's a Seahawks fan.
No.
Heck no.
No.
I think Russ stays with Seattle, though. I don't see him leaving.
If you give me Russ, DK Metcalf, and
I'll give you cash considerations
and like $1 billion, maybe I'll take it. But
damn, really?
I mean, $1 billion, would you take it?
Not for Allen and Diggs. $1 billion.
Allen and Diggs and Russ and DK. I mean,
$1 billion. I don't know, man. I don't know.
$1 billion. Okay, how about this? Okay. Russ, DK, $1 billion, and that Super Bowl ring.
I don't know. I don't want to win a ring. I want Allen to be the first ring.
I do too. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do too. I really do.
It'd be
But
worth it.
$1 billion is $1 billion. I'm just saying I don't have anywhere close to $1 billion.
Oh, you mean I get the billion?
Yeah, you get the $1 billion.
Oh.
It's your money. Do you take it?
Again, that's another tough one. I'm glad I don't have to make.
I mean, I'm sorry, Josh. I love you, man. I mean, I know you're not watching it or anything.
$1 billion.
I would never sell you out for money, but if I get $1 billion, I'm sorry, I'm taking it.
This is a good question. What would I trade for Russ? I think he's worth at least 2 first-round picks, to be quite honest with. I mean, from the Bills, I don't know, but I mean, if a team wants him, I could see 2 first-round picks and a player probably for Russ because he's still got it. He's still a Super Bowl winning quarterback, and I like Russ a lot. So I mean, I could see 2 first-round picks at the minimum. What about you?
Yeah, I could see 2 first-round picks as the minimum for him. I think it's going to take at least that, maybe even more. But I think he's going to be more of a package deal, maybe even, I think the Seahawks are going to start to rebuild just because Pete Carroll is getting up there in age as well. So I think it's going to be time to rebuild. But I could see at least 2 first-round picks and potentially even like a third or fourth. That's a conditional pick being in place. But the market for Russell Wilson, I could really see him going to teams like now that Tampa Bay is open. I think I could see him going to Tampa Bay just to try and win another Super Bowl. And I think they're going to be in a win now mode again. So I could see them being aggressive and getting somebody like a Russell Wilson or even bringing in Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Arians is going to be desperate because, they got that Super Bowl and they had a pretty good year this year. They're going to be desperate because they don't want to not sign a good quarterback and then be like 4-13. He doesn't want to be down that road. So I can see Russ doing that, to be honest with you.
So the crystal ball coming in, who do you see being the Bucs starting quarterback as the season opens up?
Either Rodgers or Russ. To be honest with you, I can see that happening. I don't think Rodgers will stay in Green Bay, and now that Brady's gone, he might be like, "Oh, let me take over." But Baker said he wouldn't mind seeing Justin Fields or something in there. Jalen Hurts for what? For a trade for Russ? Yeah, I mean, those are options too. Young quarterbacks and some draft picks, not bad. But unfortunately, we could talk about a very short preview for the Super Bowl because it's upsetting. But I think we thought the Rams would be there. I mean, I picked the Bills Cowboys, but I also thought the Rams too. Hold on, I got back. Baker said Rodgers bringing weapons with him wherever he goes. Absolutely, that's why I was thinking wherever he goes, Devontae Adams will go if the team can do it. But also, I know if Rodgers goes to the Bucs, I think DA would be like, "Yo, I'm going to take a little bit less money to play in the Bucs with Rodgers."
Yeah, I could see it happening too. And you don't have to give up the 12 jersey. It's going to be Rodgers now. So
yeah,
you can have a good 12. I mean,
yeah, and then you might, if they sign DA, they won't sign Godwin.
Yeah,
because you still got to sign Jensen, you still got to sign Kappa. I think they have quite a few free agents. To be honest with you, I haven't checked, but I think they got a few.
I think Ndamukong Suh is a free agent as well. I want to say
he is. I want to say one of the linebackers is, but I'm not like White. I'm not 100% though.
I don't think it's White or Levante David just signed last year.
So that's right.
I wanted Levante if we lost Matt Milano, so I know it's not him. But
yeah, they got a few good players that need to be signed. So yeah, who knows if they sign DA and Rodgers, that might be all they can really afford.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, definitely interesting. But we got the Bengals and the Rams in the Super Bowl. congrats to both teams, both fan bases, both franchises. It's nice to see two different teams in the Super Bowl. It's not the Chiefs, it's not the 49ers, it's not the Patriots. So it's nice. It's nice to see a different mashup of guys and teams. But obviously we hate thinking that. We knew that we had the quarterback that had a historic postseason, better than all the quarterbacks that were in there, and a couple plays away, a couple lucky rolls away to beating the Chiefs in overtime, and they went and crapped the bed against the Bengals. And like I said about the Bengals off air, they went from 2-14 to 4-11-1 to 10-7, and now they're in the Super Bowl. They don't have a top defense. They don't have a top 15 defense. They don't have a top 15 offensive line, and they got a top 5 quarterback. They got a top 5 quarterback, and they got a great receiving core. But they came to play when it counted. Our number one defense did not come to play when it counted. Our quarterback did. Our offense did. Our offensive line did. But the defense came to play in the first game. It's just when it mattered most, they just couldn't. They couldn't get it done against the Chiefs. So it's frustrating. But Baker said the Super Bowl is going to be sad because I want to see a lot of people on both sides win their first Super Bowl. Yeah, Baker, I agree. I really would like to see Stafford win one. He's a tough guy. He's got heart. He's a great quarterback. It'd be cool to see Joe Burrow win too. But again, as far as Bills, go, we know if Joe Burrow won, it'd just be a whole new narrative. Like Allen's already fighting narratives left and right. He had to have 2 elite seasons plus postseason eliteness to even get some sort of credit, and he still gets shade. So, if Burrow goes off in his first full playoff game and a first playoff season and wins the Super Bowl, it'll be a whole new thing. But I agree, both storylines would be good. And again, I'm just happy that it's two different teams. That's what I usually wish for every year for sports. Like in baseball, it's usually always the Dodgers. But my Nats won one year, and it was incredible. But it's nice to see new teams everywhere, in championships. So interesting. I'm definitely going to watch. I got the Rams, though. I got the Rams winning. How about you, Brett?
I really like what you said. I like that there's two different teams playing in this game. I like both teams. I think that Joe Burrow is going to be a really good quarterback in this league, and I think it's going to be Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes competing for, the AFC for many years to come. But I think that the Rams are just a team built with so much talent and so much depth at each position, and I think that the moment's going to be a little too big for Burrow, and I think that it's just going to be hard for him to overcome. So I do have the Rams winning as well. But I think it's going to be a very close game. I think this game is could potentially go to overtime as well. You've seen it in the playoffs so many times now where it's come down to a last-minute kick or even, going to overtime. So this game has the potential to go to overtime for me, but I think it's going to be the Rams squeaking away late.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game too. And then Baker says, I don't see the Bengals O-line stopping Aaron Donald. It might be a replay of last year's Super Bowl with Mahomes running like a chicken with his head cut off. I agree. And I was surprised. Oh, he said something else. Burrow has made it work this far. It's tough to say. Yeah, it's really – he hasn't really been electric. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Bills fan. He has 4 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. He gets the job done, but he hasn't lit up the scoreboard. They're finishing the games. They won a close game, 19-16, with the Titans, who shouldn't have been a 1 seed, and they beat the Raiders in a close game. Pretty sure it was a field goal that won the game for them too. But and they beat the Chiefs for the second time this year. So I give them all the credit in the world. But like you said, Burrow's gotten it done. He's made it work. The defense stepped up in certain spots, and it's going to be interesting to see. Good luck to both teams. It's just unfortunate that our team built the way they are, just couldn't get lucky this year. Like I said, part of all the playoffs and every sport is luck. You got to have a little bit. because everyone in the playoffs has talent, but you got to have something go your way. You can't play against the Chiefs when they had their best game all season, never make a mistake, and then you never make a mistake, and then all of a sudden you just get unlucky and lose. That's the most frustrating part is that, Allen gave us the lead twice within less than 2 minutes. The number one defense couldn't hold on 3 drives in a row, whether it was when we were up with 2 minutes left, or it was up with 13 seconds left, and overtime. It's just you're up by 3 with 13 seconds left, and you're like, wow, we're 13 seconds away from hosting the AFC Championship after Josh Allen, the previous drive, threw a touchdown pass on 4th and 11, and then, then he scored with 13 seconds left. I knew when he scored, I was like, crap, that's too much time. But I was like, I wish they ran the ball or did another pass play, got a little bit closer, and then threw a touchdown, because it would have took more time off the clock. And then, we'd be talking a different tune right now. But
exactly,
our future's bright. We got the team to do it. It's very hard to get to the Super Bowl. It's very hard to win the Super Bowl. People like to come at Bills fans and say, oh, you lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. But we're also the only team that's ever gotten to 4 Super Bowls in a row. You got to remember that part. And if I was living in those years, I think it would have been incredible still, even dealing with all those losses, just to go to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. None of your franchises have ever, been that. Yeah, we never won a Super Bowl, but it's going to happen. And just the fact that, people try to use that as like a jab at Bills fans, 4 Super Bowls in a row, no wins. Yeah, but no one's else ever been to 4. And who knows, we might win 4 in a row. So we'll be the first team to ever win 4 in a row and the first team to ever lose 4 in a row.
I'll bring up a really good perspective. I was reading this online, and it said that the 88 Bills went to the AFC Championship game. Then the 89 Bills went to the division round, and they lost in both of those games. And then we went to 4 straight Super Bowls and lost all 4. So you never know. Next year we could go to a Super Bowl. I mean, history repeats itself. It could happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'd love to see it where this narrative gets changed and we win 4 Super Bowls in a row, like you're saying. And then we can say, okay, we went to 4 Super Bowls in a row in the 90s, but we won 4 Super Bowls in a row in the
20s.
2020s. Yeah.
It's so weird to say in the 20s.
I know, it's weird to say because, you talk about the roaring 20s and everything. Can you imagine? We're going to say the roaring 20s with the Bills.
Yeah, I agree. And Baker says, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Burrow hasn't made any spectacular plays to win. I agree. He's got a lot of playmakers on that team. He gets the ball in their hands like you're supposed to, and they got all the yak yards, and P. Ryan with that 40. It was like a 50-yard touchdown on a screen pass. Like that helps you a lot, And he didn't put the ball in harm's way too much, and he just did what he had to do. Kind of like Mac Jones, but obviously Mac Jones is not the type of player that Joe Burrow is. Joe Burrow's a top 5 talent in this league. And then I'm going to skip what he said. He said Poyer's got to go. You're funny. And then does Gabriel Davis need a raise? He's out. He's absolutely going to be a guy who's going to get a huge contract when his time comes. Might even get it sooner than before his 4th year ends or his 3rd year ends. And I love Gabe Davis, and we were advocating for him to get more playing time this year. I think his ankle injury in the beginning of the year kind of stunted that for him. But first receiver in NFL history, that's including Jerry Rice and Megatron, all these great number 1 receivers of all time. He had 4 touchdown receptions, which is a record. He was 8 for 204 yards and 4 touchdowns. That was just, when people were saying, oh, you got to get Diggs the ball, it's hurting you guys. It really wasn't in that case. Diggs was doing his job, sucking up the best corners. And then Gabe Davis was able to beat those guys one-on-one.
Right.
And if Gabe Davis was like 1 catch for 1 touchdown, yeah, not getting Diggs the ball was hurting you. But when your best guy, and I talked to Baker about this too, about OBJ, in Cleveland, he was the number 1. So he wasn't shining because he was getting, guarded by the best. And he's still an amazing talent. But now when he's on the Rams, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Higbee, you got Cam Akers, and, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the number 1 guy being guarded. And, he's not the So he's able to shine more, and that's what Gabe Davis was able to do. When the number one is being eaten up in that way, because Diggs still one of the best in the league, but he knew the assignment, and Gabe Davis was able to flourish off of that. And Baker said that's actually crazy to think about, and you couldn't have done that without Diggs taking the defense with him and Allen making it all come together. And you're 100% right, man. And it's a beautiful thing to see that you don't need, Diggs to go off to win games or to be in huge games. A second-year player came out and shined and did absolutely incredible. And that gives you good promise going forward, with Diggs and Davis and whoever knows who we pick up, who we bring back. And then you still got, obviously we like Cole Beasley and Sanders and McKenzie, but, Beasley and Sanders are getting on the older side. We're going to need another playmaker in there, another gadget guy, another slot receiver, the number 3, and then still use McKenzie in that offense. And, I'm excited for what this Bills team has. And, again, it's just frustrating because how good this team is. I'm not just being a homer. A lot of people, assumed that we were going to win that game. My phone was blowing up on that second touchdown with 13 seconds left. They're like, "Oh, I'm doing something right now. I'll call you later to celebrate." Or, great, that was an awesome win. You guys are going to go to the Super Bowl. And then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, great." And, I feel for Josh Allen because as a competitor, you gave it 200%. You led the team twice in the last 2 minutes in a clutch situation. Who else did that this postseason besides? Obviously Mahomes did, but you were put in that situation to be clutch. You threw a touchdown on 4th and 11 from the 30. So it's that's huge on its own. 4th and 11, you have one play. If you miss that play, the season's over. You threw a touchdown pass. That's as clutch as it gets. So people are gonna look at this season. They're gonna ignore Allen's basically perfect postseason. He had 12 incompletions and 9 touchdown passes, no picks, and I think his rating was 140. No quarterback even came close to that. So not Brady, not Stafford, not Burrow, not Mahomes. Nobody came close to that. And it's going to be forgotten about because they lost in the divisional round. And it's a shame because, you can use that as an argument. Oh, Allen was clutch at the right time. Yeah, he lost to the Jags this year. But he put up 47 against the Patriots, 5 touchdown passes, threw 4 touchdown passes against the Chiefs, whose defense was the top defense at the end of the year.
Yeah.
The Bills and the Chiefs defense were probably the best defenses in the playoffs. And he went there and did that. It's awesome to see from your quarterback, knowing that. And that's the thing about Josh too. When it's a big stage like that, he plays even better. The pressure makes him better. It doesn't deter him. Some people, they get nervous before a game, not just professionals, but high school players, college players, they might get nervous and they perform poorly. I always like to perform under pressure, because I bowled too. So when I knew the game was on the line, I had to throw a strike. I love that. And Josh Allen's that type of competitor with football. He knows I have to do something to win this game. So I'm gonna give you 400 total yards of offense and 4 touchdown passes and no picks. So let's win this game. And then the defense let us down. You can blame it on the coaching too, but at the bottom of the end of the day, the players got to play. The coach could call a play, you just got to play. Yeah. So that's where you it's a hard spot because it's the coaching lost us this game, but when we win, do they say the coaching won us this game, or do they say, oh, Josh Allen threw 5 touchdown passes against the Patriots? It's easy to blame the coaches when you lose, but with that stupid prevent defense call on the first play, Tremaine Edmonds could have said, no, we're not doing that. You're the general of the defense. You could have said, yeah, we're not doing this, coach. It doesn't make sense. And he would probably be like, oh, you know what? You're right. You know what I mean? They want you to do that. You need to do stuff like that. You need to be able to step up and say, you know what? I don't like that play. I want to not do that play. Because if you're worried about giving up a touchdown, play cover 2, like you were playing, like you played the first time you played the Chiefs, like everybody plays against the Chiefs and the Bills, and stop it that way. Because they didn't give up a over-the-top touchdown. They give up a lot of touchdowns, but they didn't give up an over-the-top one. So play cover 2. They only needed 45 yards. You gave them 25, 30 yards the first play because you left 25 yards of space for Tyreek Hill. He ran 1 yard. He ran 1 yard, stopped, threw him the ball. He had 3 blockers.
Yep.
Like, you're not going to stop that. So then I was also thinking, before we wrap it up here, when Kelsey caught the ball, he was in the middle of the field, and he got tackled with 3 seconds left. Obviously, nobody was thinking about this at the time because you're playing. But when I watched the play, I was like, damn, he was too far away from the sideline, and he was too far away from the end zone. If he caught the ball and you didn't touch him and you try to let him run a little bit and you chased after him, you could have tackled him with 0 seconds left.
Exactly.
But, like, of course, again, you're not thinking that because you're thinking, like, oh, crap, he caught the ball. You know what I mean? But, like, I watched when he got tackled and it was 3 seconds left. I was like, oh. He wouldn't have been he would have been, like, kind of confused. Like, why aren't they trying to tackle me? Oh, crap. Oh, the game's over. You know what I mean? But
I never even thought of it from that perspective. I mean, that's a really good perspective that you're bringing up. So,
and then someone also said, like, the defense should have held. Because it would have took like 7 seconds off the clock, and then it's a 5-yard penalty. So they had to go. They would have to go for a Hail Mary.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that.
So that's another thing. Like, that's on coaching, but then at the same time, you got, elite defensive players, like Milano and Poyer and Edmonds and Hyde that could be like, listen, guys, in the huddle, we got to hold Tyreek Hill, we got to hold Travis Kelce. Yeah, it's a penalty, but screw it. It'll help us win the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't understand why they didn't play everybody back a little further too. Why they didn't play like 3 or 4 men back.
Yeah, and they rushed 4 when they didn't need to.
Yeah, rushed 3. I mean, you saw in the Chiefs and Bengals game, what did they do in the second half? They started rushing 3 and dropping 8 into coverage. And what did it do to Patrick Mahomes? I mean, he never scored another touchdown in that game.
Yeah, they scored 3 points in the second half in overtime.
They played I was reading it was the 2020 game plan from the New England Patriots, and they played it was a 3-8, and they just dropped 8 back into coverage on Mahomes. And he struggled in that game. So they just copied the game plan.
Yeah. And and again, I do coaching and playing as part of it. Like you said, they made second half adjustments because the Bengals, the first 3 drives, they gave up 21 points. They were terrible. They looked awful. And they made the adjustments in the second half. We didn't adjust at all. We just didn't. Yeah. So it was frustrating, but, again, Bills fans, we got to say maybe next year, hoping for next year, you have the use this as fuel to the next year. But how many times do you have to say that? You know what I mean? It's old to me. I don't like saying that anymore. I mean, we just got to do it. We proved that we could beat the Chiefs. We beat them at home. I don't care that they were on a losing streak. They were losing to good teams.
Yeah.
All their losses were to good teams at the time. The Ravens lost last 6 in a row because Lamar wasn't playing. He's not the best quarterback in the league, but he's a great quarterback. And they would have won at least a couple of those games. And if he did, the Bengals wouldn't even be in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Because the Ravens were 8-9, 8-9. Yeah, 8-9, and then the Bengals were 10-7. If Lamar played those last 6 games, and they lost a couple games by going for 2.
Yeah.
So, it could be a whole different season if Lamar never got hurt, to be honest. Like, not that Lamar would be in the Super Bowl right now. He could have been, but the Bengals might not even be in the playoffs.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's just the thing. You got to get a little bit of luck, and things got to go your way, and you got to play right. They've done it all. So, I mean, we'll see if they can win that Super Bowl. I mean, that'd be crazy for either team to win it.
I know.
I can't wait to
imagine back-to-back years where a team that hosted the Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, I mean, they host the Super Bowl in Buffalo. We wouldn't even go to it. They'd be like, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna break that cycle now."
Yeah. Imagine next year. Yeah, imagine next year it's in Buffalo.
Yeah, it'd be if it was in Buffalo, it'd be the Patriots and the Brady would come out of retirement and play for the Bucks again, and then it'd be Patriots, Bucks, and Buffalo.
Yeah.
Oh God, but yeah, I think that about does it. How do you have any final thoughts?
I don't. I can't think of anything else. Well, actually, yeah. Let's talk about one more thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Let's talk about the news from today.
Which one? There's plenty.
Well, our new offensive coordinator.
Right. Yes. Ken Dorsey. We kept it in house. We're bringing quarterback coach Ken Dorsey to the offensive coordinator. Josh Allen had a say in it, so you trust the decision. There was obviously a lot of candidates that wanted to come here, but I like Ken Dorsey, and I'm interested to see. He knows this offense. He knows Josh. Josh trusts him. I'm excited to see what he's got. I like Dable. I don't know if you saw what he said about, he kind of threw a shot at Josh earlier in his press conference with the Giants. They asked about him, and he said, "Oh, it took a whole village to get Josh where he's at now." And he kind of that's, if you really read into it, it's kind of a shot. But without Josh Allen, Brian Dable is a trash coach.
By far.
He's been a bottom offensive coordinator, bottom 25 his entire career. Maybe 20 was his best year, 20 offense, and that was with the Bills. Josh Allen's second year. So, I mean, you could say, oh, it took a whole village, but you're discrediting the work Allen put in to be where he was. Yeah, the quarterback coach helps, offensive coordinator helps during the game, but you don't go to the offseason with him. Brian Dable doesn't go to Josh's house and say, let's run drills. Jordan Palmer, yeah, he's a huge part, but don't discredit Josh's growth by saying, oh, it took a whole village. I don't know if, he might have been trying to be funny, but that's a subtle shot.
Yeah.
It's just like when Bill Cowher says, you got a running back playing quarterback in Josh Allen and a quarterback who likes to run in Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen's not Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen can throw better than Mahomes. Josh Allen can throw better than anybody in the league, and he can run great. Lamar Jackson isn't an elite passer. He's a good quarterback, but he's not an elite passer. So they take shots like that. Oh, a running back who likes to play quarterback. Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the league. And you can argue, haters and everyone else can argue he's a top 3, and that's fine. But I think he's number 1 or tied with Mahomes. They both do incredible things, but Allen's arm strength is better than Mahomes, and they're both elite passers. They're the 2 best quarterbacks in this league, and they're, with Burrow and Herbert and Jackson. I guess you could put Kyler Murray in there too. It's going to be a fun league, but it's just, Jalen Hurts too. And my boy Trey Lance, I root for Trey Lance because someone I served with in the Army, his uncle, Trey Lance is his nephew. He actually got a picture with Groot too. He was at the draft day. He sent me a picture with him and Groot taking a selfie. So, I mean, good for him. I'm looking forward to Trey Lance's growth and to see him start next year. I think he'll start next year in San Francisco. But yeah, it's just good luck to Daboll. It looks like they already got problems in New York with Schoen and Daboll with Bill. Did you see that? What just happened?
Yeah, with Brian Flores.
Yeah, it's. I feel bad for Flo because I think he should never have gotten fired. He's a great coach, and he's a people's coach. Everyone loves him. He's a guy that people want to rally around and win for, and it's a shame. He should be a head coach in this league. I'm sure he will be. It's just, he's suing the NFL, and I agree with him. And it's just, it's hard because I don't think, he's saying that it's a racism issue because he never got the interview because Bill Belichick texted him congratulations 3 days before he got interviewed. So, and that's not right. He should have got the interview. You can't say for sure because that's a huge accusation to put on somebody, that Schoen is racist because he didn't give Brian Flores the interview. We don't know if Bill Belichick's just talking out of his butt. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, they were saying that all over Twitter. They're probably leaning towards Brian Daboll. They didn't say, yeah, they're going to hire Brian Daboll. So, I mean, like, who knows, like, what really happened. So, they got some trouble going on in New York already. I feel for Brian Flores. I hope it's not a racism issue, but it's a hard accusation to put on somebody, not knowing what really went on. I hope it's not that. I pray it's not that, because it shouldn't be like that in the world anymore. But, I mean, Flores, he should get a job, and I pray for that for him. And what he was thinking was, I guess what I saw was, he was under the impression that he would probably get the job and that Brian Daboll would be the offensive coordinator underneath him, because he didn't like working with Sean McDermott. And when he said that Daboll didn't like working with Sean McDermott, what that said to me was, Daboll can't take responsibility for his actions. Coach McDermott lets him know, listen, you can't run the ball 25 times in a row up the middle. It's not going to work. And he's like, oh, well, I'm the offensive coordinator. So it's like, I know Josh was close with them, and I know Daboll did a lot for this team, but we can't pretend like Daboll made Josh Allen.
No, he didn't.
Because he didn't give him his athletic ability. He didn't give him his arm. He didn't give him any of that stuff. He called plays, and he put him in a good position, but you can't say Daboll made Allen. But you could definitely say Allen made Daboll. And, it's just, I hope Coach Flo gets a job, because he deserves it. I think Miami made a big mistake.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I think they made a mistake because I really liked the direction that they were going in, and I thought that Brian Flores was going to bring him to the playoffs next year, and he was really building a mentality in Miami where you play hard every single game. And I mean, what were they on, like a 7-game win streak or 6-7-game win streak? After
they were 1-7.
It was 1-7, and then they go on a 6-game win streak to go to 7-7, and they're right there.
In a row. They won 7 in a row, I think.
11 in a row.
7
in a row.
Yeah.
So and then you beat New England to end the season, and you sweep the Patriots. I mean, my buddy on another YouTube channel is a huge Dolphins fan, and there's a video of him and I talking about it on his channel, and he's like, I don't even know what to say, because we just fired our coach, and we had probably one of our best seasons in recent history, and we just let our best coach go. And I said, dude, I do not understand why they did that, because that was the craziest move. But
yeah, I agree. And I think, though, it's not because of Coach Flores. It's because of who's in office.
Yep.
Greer and who's the other guy?
And I can't make
it.
The owner is Stephen Ross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something showed that Ross would pay Flores an extra $100,000 every time they lost a game that 2019 year, so they could try to get the number 1 pick, and he didn't want that. So I think it was more if Flores had integrity and didn't agree with what those two were doing, and he didn't like the direction they were going in, and they fired him.
I think it was more of something happened behind the scenes, like you're saying, where I think it very well could have been like, they said, hey, this offseason we're going to go after Deshaun Watson. And he said, no, I want to stick with Tua. And, there's just a meeting about it. And he said, if you're going to fire me, then fire me, because I'm sticking with Tua. He's my guy. I mean, it could have been something like that,
Yeah, something simple.
I think he was the one that wanted Tua over anybody else, and everybody else wanted Deshaun. So, I mean, they're making a mistake. It's sad to say, even though they're a division rival, but I really like the way that our division was going, especially with, Robert Mathis, or Robert Saleh. Yeah, I always say Robert Mathis. I was thinking it was a defensive end. But Robert Saleh and knew it with the Jets, and then Flores there. I felt like the division was, could have been anybody's next year, especially, if Miami took a couple pieces and added them to their roster. And I think that the Jets are going to be a lot better next year than they were this year. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, praying for Coach Flo that he gets through the situation. It's not fair, and I like to see him as a head coach. But,
Me too. And I think that, there's still some options out there. There's the Saints is a really intriguing job that he could potentially get, because I think he did interview with the Saints. So that could be an option for him. I don't think I was hoping that he would go to like Minnesota or something like that, but I think that Minnesota made up their mind on their coach now. So
yeah, I think maybe.
I think they're in the final. They have the finalists now, so I don't think he's one of the finalists. But it's sad to see, and I think that there needs to be something done about this, because there's so many, there's so many people like Brian Flores that don't even get a shot out there. You see it with Eric Bieniemy as well.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to see that this is happening. But I really hope that he gets a shot, and I hope that he is a head coach again.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that for sure. And I think we're going to do next, we should do a draft prospect. We'll have to get together and talk off air to pick. We could pick like one person each, watch some film together, and then talk about it. I still don't know how to put film on the videos without getting in trouble. I got to talk to my friend Mike with Nickel City Mafia. And then maybe one day we can do one with Nickel City Mafia and you and Tony.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm excited though. So thank you guys for coming in, tuning in to Red, White, and Bills, along with Brett from Go Bills Podcast. I know it's been a week. I just had my situation with school, had to finish it because I'm leaving on Thursday. I'll be back Sunday night. And then we'll plan for this coming week to do something, to do something again. We'll be talking free agents and draft. And then I'm sure once Super Bowl's over, there'll be more breaking news stuff that we can come on and talk about and things of that nature. So, Brett, tell them where they can find you again, and we'll head out of here.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you, Sean, for having me again. It's always a pleasure to be on your show again. But you can find me at Go Bills Podcast on YouTube and Instagram. And in the near future, we're building our website as well, gobillspodcast.com. So you can find us on there as well. So, Sean, thank you so much for having me. And I wanted to say as well, my thoughts and prayers are with you. I know you're going through a very difficult time with your buddy passing away. So my thoughts and prayers are with you right now. I know it's hard, but, it's awesome to see that you're still going through with what you love to do. And, we hope you keep his legacy alive, and, you build this channel to the best of your abilities, because I know that this is what he would want you to do. So keep it up and keep doing good things, man. And I'll always be there for you. So if you need anything, let me know, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you're right. That's as hard as it is to come on here and, do things like this. I know that he would be wanting me to do this and wouldn't want me to just sit on the couch and, be in that mind state. I know he'd want me to be doing this and continuing with the gym and school and doing my best. And, he's always going to be on my mind and in my heart and soul. So he knows that. And thank you for that love. And I'm always here for you too. It's always a pleasure having you on here. I love, what we all do together. And I think we bring great content to the viewers, and we're going to keep growing together. And I know the draft is more of your and Tony's expertise than mine, but that's something I'm willing to obviously learn how to do, because before I made the channel, I wasn't really in on college football, watching college football. I would just wait till the draft. We'd pick a guy and look him up and be like, oh, okay. So now it's going to be more interesting for now and in the future to actually watch more college football and to dissect film of future possible players and watch bowl games and things like that. So we'll be talking this weekend. I'll go home Sunday, and then we're going to put out a video. We're going to plan some draft options and maybe a mock couple rounds, and we'll talk, all three of us. And Tony, we're sorry we couldn't make it tonight, but we said your players, and if you wanted to comment in the comments about what we talked about and what your opinions were on those players. I'm sure the viewers would love to see that also, and so would we. So thank you guys again for tuning in to Red, White, and Bills. This was a free agent chat, we'll say. Free agent chats, possible options as the Bills could go. And it's a tough time for free agency because you never like to see people go. You grow to love your team and your players. And, it's a business. Hard decisions are going to happen. So we're going to be here for it. So thanks again, guys, and go Bills.
Go Bills. Thank you for having me. Safe travels.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.